I thought I had a concert and I thought it was like going to be like 2 weeks in the future, but it was today.
Okay.
Yep.
So, did you miss it?
No, I went there. I just
Okay.
missed rehearsal. And,
well, that's good.
Yeah. Yep.
I did that once freshman year, actually. I made it on time eventually, but.
Oh yeah, I had to go home and put on different clothes, which is why I'm dressed up today. Not just for a fight.
Yeah, just. I'm not dressed up for a fight. I apologize.
It's okay.
This is not very kind to you to not dress up for our fight day.
We should explain our fight and maybe what this radio show is to somebody that is listening.
Yeah,
somebody?
I don't know if somebody is listening tonight. So far, I haven't seen that somebody is.
Anyways, but we are basically two nerdy college kiddos that like talking about D&D, and we've just been doing that. To put it simplistically.
Yes. And today we are going to. Oh my goodness!
What is the mic doing? Drew,
I don't know. My mic does not want to sit still.
Drew, what if you screwed this thing? The white boy.
Oh my goodness, that's an option.
There are so many screw things. If not, do the one at the bottom.
I think it's this one.
That one? All right. Yeah, that looks better.
There we go.
Microphones.
So, today we are talking about the Feats system, both of 3.5 and of 5e.
Yes.
You're expecting me to be a bully there, weren't you?
No, not yet.
Alright, so yeah, we're talking about 3.5 and 5e, which have the best feat systems of any of the editions. That is undeniable.
Yes, 3.5 and 5e are real great. Pathfinder can also be good, but I'm not so
Pathfinder is too much. There I can agree with you that that is too complex and too much crap to deal with, because you get one every even number. But anyway, to describe every odd number. To describe, the feats are like building blocks for making your character unique.
On top of everything else.
On top of the class and race, but technically, that even with just classes and races, though there are a lot of combinations, eventually you're going to run into the problem of the same combination coming up, and that happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
Human fighters. But yeah, so there's only 12 of classes, and there are a lot of races, but all of them can be every class. But there's still situations where those things cross over, and so feats are just another way to make sure that your character is always or almost always going to be a unique character. Mm-hmm. And so 3.5 and 5e tackle that in very different ways. We're going to work on the assumption that we're going by the 20 level theory, which is what most D&D editions go up to, at least for the base classes. So they're a little different, 3.5 and 5e. We're going to talk about 3.5 first, and then 5e, and then we're going to talk about them in tandem to each other.
And how they are different.
And how they are different.
And disadvantages of them.
And why each of us likes one of them better than the other. I will go on the record and say, because we were arguing about this before the show even began, I'll go on record to say that neither is necessarily better. It depends on what you're looking for.
And they both
at the time.
And they both fit the edition well that they are placed in.
Yes. I think that both of them have flaws even in their editions as well, though, and out of their editions. So, to begin with, we'll talk about 3.5 feats. Now, the idea with 3.5 feats is that they are far more complex than 5e, as is true of many things in 3.5. As with most things in 3.5, though, I feel that the feats in 3.5 are designed in a way that they are complex, but you can choose to not make them complex.
Should we give an example of a feat in case no one knows what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean...
So it's like little character traits or like little character quirks.
Can you turn up my mic just a bit?
Just a bit. You okay?
Or maybe I'm just not close enough.
You can get closer, and then it will be a lot more consistent, Drew. I will tell you that.
How's that?
I mean, you're at the same.
You're the one who can hear. Mine again is not telling me anything. So.
It's not.
Nope. My headphones are not telling me anything.
Try it again. Can you check your headphones again, please?
Hello. Hello.
Are they doing anything?
They're not doing anything.
How about now? I'm just gonna...
Badly. I don't think they're gonna do anything.
Okay, I just turned it up on the max volume. I will tell.
All right. So anyway, Feats. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to get to examples in just a moment here, but I wanted to talk about the basic construction of where they lie in the level up system first. Yes. 3.5, again, they're complex, but you can choose to not make them complex. There are very simple ones that I'll talk about briefly that just boost skills. And then there are more complex ones that involve a little more reading. And then there's ones that go beyond the first book as well. But the basic construction of it is that you get 1 feat at first level, 2 feats if you're human. You get 1 feat at first level, so that's your beginning point to start branching out into the world of feats. And it does become complex sometimes because some feats become prerequisites for other feats, and they can branch out into different tactics of building your character. And feats are all designed to kind of just like improve little things about your character, like accuracy or skills and stuff like that. You then will get a feat at 3rd level after that. And then you get a feat at every 3rd level after that. So 3rd level, 6th level, 9th level. Any divisible by 3. 1st level, and then any divisible by 3. So in all, with 20 levels, that gives you 7 feats altogether. Which is quite a few. But still small enough that you kind of have to be careful what line you're going down and make sure that you don't screw up yourself for later on. But with most editions, you can always theoretically go beyond 20th level and retrack things back if you need to, if you don't like the feat path you've taken. Or just bring in a new character, or talk to your DM about changing feats. Yep. But yeah, so there are a number of different kinds of feats. The most basic that is for if you want to choose simple feats is there are a number of feats that give you +2 to 2 different types of skills, and we've talked about skills in the past, like diplomacy and bluff and climb and stuff like that. So there's like stealthy, which gives you +2 to move silently and hide checks. We call them stealth checks in our game for move silently, but just gives you a basic +2 to any 2 stats. Usually they're paired together in little bundles that they give you, and those can all be found in the player's handbook. And then there are other more complicated ones, and I will say that the more complicated ones, I guess, are usually the better ones. I mean, definitely. Overall, +2 to 2 different stats won't help you all that much in the long run. Yeah. When compared to things like power attack, which is a basic one for fighters, which allows you to essentially take away from your accuracy to add to your damage.
So you're swinging more recklessly, but you deal damage.
And power attack is a great example because power attack then bridges into a lot of other different types of feats you can take going on. So it branches into the cleave feat, which can allow you to, when you down an opponent, you immediately can make another attack against another opponent nearby. And there are tons of other offshoots of power attack as well. You can also take Mighty Cleave, which can allow you to theoretically, if you have taken Power Attack and Cleave first, once you strike someone down, you can hit another person after they fall down, But then if you hit that person down, you can do it again and continue to do it if your blows continue to bring people down, which can be pretty awesome if you've taken the 3 feats to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But the idea of that is that it takes time. You're building your character over time, and they're growing in their abilities. Kind of just like the class S features of any class grow in power or grow in number of times you can use them in a day. As your power grows up, feats in 3.5 are built in a way so that you continue to grow better with these feats. These feats continue to mean more as time goes on. And there's lots of cool... We're going to talk about some of our favorite feats of the editions. Yeah. The spell feats of 3.5 are all super awesome.
I'd argue that they're broken.
Oh, really?
Well, you can make them go insane, which I love.
I don't know if I'd argue that they're broken, because you're always casting a higher level spell that's usually better to do them. So essentially, like, there are ways you can improve low level spells by taking feats for them, by casting them at a higher level, which will get rid of a more powerful spell.
But Drew, Magic Missile is a free action.
Magic Missile is a quicken spell. Quicken spell is definitely the best feat, 3.5 spell feat. And what that does is usually when you're a spellcaster, you can only cast one spell in a turn. But the quicken spell allows you to cast another spell that turn, if you've already cast one. A second spell, but you have to cast that spell as if it were 4 levels higher, which is
4?
A lot higher.
I thought it was 3.
No, it's 4.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's harsh.
It is.
Which means you can only really get it once you have 4th level or higher spells anyway. So I wouldn't argue that that's super overpowered.
Oh, no.
Honestly.
No, I thought it was 3. 3 sounded fair. 4. Ooh.
Also, 5e has these types of spells, but they do it a little differently, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, a bit, definitely.
A bit. I don't really like 5e's version because it's only available to sorcerers.
What? No, it isn't.
That's what I read.
What are you talking about?
I might be wrong.
We might be thinking about different things.
It's part of their lineup, though. It's part of their special abilities that they get meta magic feats.
Yeah, that one. That thing. That's a class special.
Yeah. The quicken spell and empower spell and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are only feats available to
It's basically
sorcerer,
a mechanic
right?
Of sorcerers.
Yeah.
But don't worry.
We'll talk about that
there are
in a
other
little
spell
bit.
feats. They are fun.
Spell Sniper and Warcaster?
Have you ever read Elemental Adept?
I haven't read that one, no.
All
right, we'll talk about it when we get to 5e. But you can also take Improved Anything in 3.5, which just improve basic functions, like Improved Grapple.
Improved Initiative?
Improved Initiative is one of the best ones. Allows you to go first in turn order for battles.
Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but it gives you +4 to your initiative, which is awesome because there's very few things that affect initiative to begin with. It's just improved initiative and dexterity, your dexterity modifier. So, yeah, that's the only way you can really boost yourself past things if you have a low dexterity. Or if you have a high dexterity, then you're usually going pretty high up on the list. There's also one that everybody should take if they're a Dex X class is Combat Reflexes, which allows you to make multiple attacks of opportunity in a row. So what that means is when an enemy is moving away from you in battle, you get the opportunity, even if it's not your turn, if they're moving on their turn, to try and attack them. It's a less powerful attack usually when you're trying to attack them as an attack of opportunity, but it's helpful. And if you don't take Combat Reflexes, you can only do that once per turn. I don't think they have an equivalent of that in 5e, do they?
Or which one?
Like making multiple reactions in one turn.
No, you're only allowed one reaction.
Yeah, you can't take any feat to change that, can you? Yeah. And then you've got... I will admit that the sniper lineup, the multiple different feats in 3.5 that allow you to improve your bow are a little convoluted sometimes. There's a lot of them. Point blank shot, precise shot, and they all focus on improving your ability to attack at range better. And they do things like add accuracy and damage, and allow you to double your distance on things. But there's just so many of them. There's ones that also allow you to make multiple shots when you would only be able to make one, and stuff like that. Which can be really cool, especially if you have a class that I created called Deadeye. But in the 3.5, unfortunately, doesn't have enough feat options for you to truly get the scope of all of the different ranged attacks you can make. You can ranged feats you can make. You can get. Oh my goodness, because there's a lot of them. There's also great ones from other books. One that my group has been really loving the last year or so are the devotion feats, which are really helpful. If you are essentially worshiping a certain god, you can get a devotion feat that's based on one of their domains, as it were. Like air devotion allows you to have like a wind shield around you, or at least a wind shield around you that deflects like arrows and stuff on occasion. Water devotion allows you to summon water elementals. Evil devotion allows you to make your weapons evil aligned and basically deal a massive amount of damage against good entities. There's a lot of good ones. There's a couple of meh ones, like the strength devotion is kind of meh, but they're really cool. And what's great about all of them is you can activate them as bonus actions, which means that your bonus action is like a side action that you do in combat that doesn't really take away from your movement or attacking, which is really awesome. Yeah. One of the most OP ones that I don't think people recognize as OP is the protection devotion, which gives like a sphere of plus a ridiculous amount of AC armor class to everyone in that sphere. It's insane.
Yeah, I haven't made a tank yet in our game, and
then there's the what is this? Save chain. Oh, there are feats that allow you to use different ability scores for things that you might be weak in.
Oh yeah,
like the force of personality allows you to use charisma instead of wisdom for will saves.
Might be taking that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good one. It just allows people to like make their attacks or their saves or something based on something else. Usually as a nod to what makes sense for the character. I know that, for instance, Alistair also has force of personality because he's way more of a charismatic person than he is a wisdom person, but because of that charisma, because of that kind of personality force that he is, he still can hedge out mental attacks against himself. Just because he has the will for it. And then there's super awesome feats that you can get that need a couple of feats to take, like Giant Bane, which give you a bunch of bonuses to like larger creatures. Shock Trooper, which like you need power attack and improved bull rush for, but essentially allows you to just rearrange the battlefield. And push people sideways and stuff like that. Elusive Target, which is an amazing feat. You need dodge and you need mobility for it. But it essentially allows you to just a lot of times never get hit. First of all, whenever someone makes an attack of opportunity against you, you can try to trip them. Whenever you are flanked by someone, you can have the first attack from a flanking opponent possibly hit the person on the other end.
Drew, why do we not have a character based on this?
Rykon had that feat.
Drew, why don't we have a True Blade player character that's doing this right now?
It's a great feat.
Drew, I need more filthy dex builds.
So yeah, it's all 3.5 is all about building up to these incredibly great abilities as time goes on. 1 second, Bradley. All right, cool.
All right.
Then we have 5e.
So 5e, the best way to explain 5e is I'm going to compare them with similar 3.5 feats because they're derived the same. But 5e is given about every 4th level, so there is 2 less feats, and it's weird with attribute points, so overall you get a lot less feats than in 3.5. But these feats cover a much wider, a bit wider range than the 3.5 equivalent. Like,
yes, because you have less feats, the feats do more stuff to you a lot of time. And you don't need prerequisites for most of the feats. Sometimes you need ability prerequisites.
Like, ability prerequisites for some of the more ability score based kind of. But one that I want to do as an example is the Great Weapon Master. While Drew was talking about the power attack and cleave, this is basically both of them combined. Where if you ever score a critical hit or get someone to 0, you can basically make an attack as a bonus action. And you can put like -5 to your attack to get +10 to damage.
Yeah.
It's risky, but it's fun. Other ones, Alert is basically +5 to initiative. You can't be surprised while you're conscious and other creatures don't gain advantage on attack rolls against you as a result of being unseen by you. So basically no one can sneak up on you.
Yeah. I put a couple of my basic favorite ones in the our Google Doc as well. Mine were mostly based on ones that I liked that added new elements to gameplay, like Actor, which allows you to basically. There's a couple of other functions to it, but it also opens up this new area where you can mimic people's voices.
You can mimic people. You have advantage on every charisma and performance check to pass as a different person, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're like a rogue whose main deal is doing this, it's really fun.
There's Keen Mind. Some of these also give a +1 to an ability score as a bonus to not getting an ability score or that level, which we'll talk about when we talk about the differences between the two. But it gives you a +1 to intelligence and also allows your character to always know everything that's been spoken to them and everything they've read. So essentially you don't have to take notes and always be taking notes for what the DM tells you, because you can always just say, my character would remember that. So you have to tell me.
Drew, do you want to know something?
Yeah.
A lot of people say that is the worst feat of 5e.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because people would be like, oh, the DM would give that information to you anyways.
Which I don't. But I also, as a player, personally take enough notes that I don't ever feel like I need that feat. So
I feel like I would love that feat, especially because I can't make every game.
Yeah.
But
that's understandable.
Drew, can I tell you
it gives you some
my
other functions
favorite
too.
feats?
What's that, Bradley?
Well,
is it the OP one? Lucky?
No. Okay. Lucky.
Which, by the way, I don't think it's that OP.
It's not that bad. I just really want to make a character revolving around rewards.
So what Lucky is, for those who don't understand, is Lucky allows you to 3 times per day re-roll something that you roll. Re-roll a die 20 roll that you rolled. Which you have to take the second roll, right?
I believe so.
It's not like an advantage thing. You have to take the second roll. Yeah. I don't think it's that bad. There are lots of things in 3.5 that can give you that function. But
so, and just so you know, Drew, I'm even going to recommend this feat that I'm going to talk about to Reed's character.
Which one is that?
It's called Elemental Adept.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what it is. I didn't read that one.
So you choose this, and then you choose a damage type, either acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And spells you cast dealing this damage of the chosen type ignore resistances of this damage. And if you ever roll a 1 on a die dealing this damage, it's a 2 instead.
Oh, interesting. That's a good one.
I really like it. And combining that with a...
ignore resistances. I assume it doesn't ignore immunities.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, only resistances.
Gotcha.
So you can't kill a flame elemental with fire, sadly.
That's too bad. There are things that can do that in my world.
In your world?
Yeah.
Fancy.
Pyromancer makes it fire resistant instead of immune.
But that's a whole class.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And then I can talk about other different ones, but 5e has a lot of solid classes. But do you know what 5e doesn't have?
What?
Throw anything.
It does not. The best feat of 3.5.
Clearly the best feat.
So in 3.5, if you're throwing something, it's usually considered an improvised weapon, because if it's not meant to be thrown, if you have a throwing axe, that's a different story. But if you're throwing a book or a chair, it's considered an improvised weapon, so it's at -4, and it usually only has a very short distance it can be thrown. So throw anything allows you to negate that effect and literally just throw anything you want. Yes. There's still a range limit, but
actually,
the DM essentially has to come up with an equivalent item and base the range off of that. So usually when you throw a rock, technically in regular 3.5, it's a 10-foot range. But if you throw anything, a DM could say it would have the range of half a baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. While 5e does have something similar called Tavern Brawler, if you looked into it.
I briefly looked at it.
It gives you proficiency
I didn't really
with
like it.
improvised weapons, and improvised weapons deal a d4, so it's not that great.
Okay, so there's a feat that 5e, I will give it, does so much better than 3.5.
Which one?
Tough. Because in toughness, 3.5, you get, if you take the toughness feat, you get 3 extra hit points. And that doesn't increase at all. Tough, in 5e, you get, I think it's
2 HP per level.
2 hit points per level. 2 extra hit points per level, which can mean a lot, especially to smaller units.
That's a lot of health.
Yeah, it can mean a lot. I think it gives another function too, doesn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Something about resting?
Nope.
Or am I thinking of durable?
That's durable.
Okay.
You want to know what's crazy with durable, though?
What's that?
There's another feat that's a race-specific one that is Dwarven Fortitude.
Right.
So you know how in a short rest you roll die to get back HP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dwarven Fortitude, you can do that whenever you take a dodge action.
I haven't looked at the racial feats.
The racial feats are real good.
Are they?
Yeah.
Good to know.
There's this one with tieflings that
I don't like the idea of racial feats. I didn't like them in 3.5 either. I mean, I don't know. I am gonna be putting some stuff for differences in races in my world, but I never really liked the idea of a lot of differences in races to begin with, because I always felt like every edition so far has made the races unbalanced because of them. Because you got some that can fly, and some that can look at rocks and be able to better know how to forge stuff.
So, Drew, you want to know something funny about the ones that fly?
Yeah.
They're banned from Adventures League.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're just flat out banned.
That's hilarious.
You can't fly. What are you talking about? You silly goose.
But yeah,
everything else seems rather balanced, though.
I guess. Some of them are definitely not great. I don't like, for instance, Dragonborn. It seems like a great one. It's not that great. It's really not.
It can be good.
No. I mean, I guess it depends on the class you take.
They make really good paladins.
Yeah. But anyway, let's play our PSAs and then get to our argument.
Oh, yeah. PSAs. Alrighty. And we're back.
Hello.
Hey, Drew, you want to know something?
Yeah.
I forgot to turn off my mics. Maybe.
You're kidding me.
One of them.
You're kidding me right now. Which one?
I think mine. I forgot to turn off mine.
Well, I hope so, Bradley, because
It's okay. I just looked down.
It might not be. It might not be. Anyway.
We'll edit that in post. Right?
There is no post except for the YouTube, Bradley.
Which, if you are looking for our YouTube, our glorious channel,
by the way, yes, Rackmoff's Revenge. RAKMOFF''S Revenge. We have uploaded the 2 shows from this season so far. Nice transition, Bradley.
I'm really dumb.
Yeah, you are, and I'm about to prove that. Just kidding.
Is it fight time?
Why we like 3.5 or 5e for Brad better, usually. So I like 3.5 better because of its complexity. I mean, it's very apparent that I like the complexity more and the ability to choose more options better, especially when you get into other books. Especially when I think 5e, I like the system that they have where you don't have prerequisites in the system itself. I really like that system. I feel like they still need more feats. They don't have a terrible amount, at least not any that I've seen outside of the base ones. I haven't seen a lot of good ones.
Xanathar's guide has a lot of races.
Does it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I don't know if the wiki shows all of them. Also, the wiki got destroyed.
I mean, it likely was partially illegal.
But you can find all of that stuff anyway. I don't understand.
Not legal, though.
No, it is legal, though. It is. No. The PDFs are out by Wizards of the Coast.
They are?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
But anyway.
Confusion aside.
So yeah, there doesn't seem to be enough in 5e so far, and this is an argument I have for a lot of stuff in 5e. Is just 5e is still, right now, to me at least, in its infancy and doesn't have enough stuff yet. And 3.5 has so many novels that you can find so many interesting feats in to pull from for your characters. And you don't have to if you don't want to. That's my argument to everyone who says that 3.5 is too complex, is that's your choice, though. A character doesn't have to do that unless a DM is forcing them to do it. Like, there's very simple feats in the player's handbook that you can follow. And there are so many different cheat sheets and so many different sites that can tell you good ways to build a character very quickly. But I don't know. Also, my pet peeve with 5e right now is that, to me, this feat system is very good. It could have been better, in my opinion. I feel like they should have allowed for 1 feat at first level. And I feel like you had to kind of change that a bit, because I feel like you shouldn't get an ability score at first level. And 5e does this thing where you either get 2 points in an ability score, or you get a feat. I feel like they should have, if you're going to give it at first level, you should give just a feat, not an ability score improvement. That's too much. But, well, Bradley, are you going to argue me? Because let me finish. Okay. But I also just don't like the idea that, what was it I was going to say? Oh, yeah, I don't like the ability score thing at all. That seems... I mean, I get that they put some ability score improvements into feats, but you didn't have to do that. You could have just said you get a feat at 4th level, 8th level, and every 4th level, whatever, and also an ability score improvement at each of these levels. 3.5 has it that you get an ability score improvement at different levels than you get feats, but it still means that you get both instead of having to choose between the two, and both are very vital, in my opinion, to character creation. It's difficult. It's a choice. Sure, it's a choice to make your between things for your character, but to me, it's a nonsensical choice. It shouldn't be that shouldn't be one of the choices you have to make. That being said, there are a lot of things that are very great about 5e system. It's very simplified, and the feats are well designed. The feats are very well designed. There are a couple of feats in 3.5 that are not well designed, and I can say that percentage-wise, I don't know if I can say that, but percentage-wise, 5e probably has them beat in terms of well-built feats. I don't know. There are a lot of really good 3.5 feats, but there are a lot. Yes, I can definitely say percentage-wise because there are all the skill feats in 3.5. So, but I just like the way that 3.5 is constructed, where you're building up to something great, better than here's just one package that you get at this level, and that's all you have to worry about now. It doesn't build into anything. It's just, and you say, like, you've said, Brad, that it's just, like, simplifying the options, but, like, then you get a bunch of different little packages instead of a bunch of feats that adds up to one thing. So you could end up with too many options in 5e as opposed to 3.5 as well. But, again, the feats are well designed. And it does fit the edition to an extent. The one thing that annoys me the most, though, is that it specifically says in the thing that, in the book, that the feat system of 5e is optional. Which, I understand the point of that. I understand that there are some groups that you don't want feats for. There are sometimes players that don't need feats to expand the game. Or if you're playing, like, with your children, maybe you don't want to include feats in there. But to put something on there in the book that says, hey, this is optional, there are a lot of people out there that see that and go, oh, I'm not going to use it then. That's just going to happen a lot of the time. And it becomes a normative thing to not use that. Fortunately, that hasn't happened. Most times I see people play A with feats in 5e. But that's very likely to happen if you put in this thing that says this is an optional thing. Just the way it's phrased in the book, it says it makes it feel like it's normal not to have it, and I don't feel like that should be the case necessarily. Also, it's not necessary to say. If it's optional, that's fine. People have been making things in D&D optional for years and years. Never have they had to say this is optional. People have probably hedged out feats in 3.5 as well. Because that's what you can do as the DM, is you can make things optional. I don't know. It feels like the book makes... I don't know. I don't like the... Anyway, it's not important. But it almost feels like it's telling me how to do it. You know? It's holding my hand in how I should be DMing. But Bradley.
5e does that a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
Because it is meant for a wider audience and not us crazy people who are hosting a D&D radio show.
Yeah.
But yeah. Talking about feats in 5e, yes, you do have to make a choice whether on taking a feat or doing an ability score. Also, can I make one comment about ability scores
What's
in
that?
5e? I like them so much better than in 3.5 because you get 2 at a time, and I can see the numbers go up.
Yeah, but then you don't get a feat, and feats are more interesting to me.
Well, if you're done making the feats around the character, you can make all the other stats go up, and it's beautiful. Also,
Up to 20 only, though, because
Yep.
that's the max in 5e.
it is the max. It's balanced. Perfect. It's not perfect.
People in real life aren't balanced. Characters wouldn't be balanced.
I don't. Stories aren't real life. Okay. Another thing. If you want a feat first level, then just be a human. They come with a feat first level. It's nice. It's kind of broken, honestly. That's the most broken character builds that I make in my head, and I find online. And feats can build into each other. For example, if you take the Tavern Brawler, which...
In 5e, do humans get a feat at first level?
Yeah, variant human.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's a good time. And feats can combo into each other pretty well. Like, you get Tavern Brawler, which whenever you make an attack, you can grapple someone as a bonus action.
Brandon makes an excellent point here, just gonna point it out. But humans are boring, Brad.
Well, then make your human not boring. It's not that hard.
No, I agree with you, but...
That's another thing with 5e. They put a lot of, like, specificity... Like,
Specificity?
That word into...
I don't know if that's even right.
Into their different races to distinguish them on a mechanical level, which I do appreciate.
5e didn't start that.
What?
Also, this isn't an argument on races. This is an argument on feats.
Continuing with feats, you can combo off that bad boy.
You can tell me.
Brawler
Hey,
with,
by the way, you can tell me to be quiet while you ramble, since I did for you.
Yeah. So you can combo a Tavern Brawler with another feat called Grappler, which is a piece of beauty and basically lets you slam a person into the ground and make them exposed to all attacks.
If you put that with Sentinel, even more.
Sentinel?
Are you saying Sentinel's bad?
No,
Sentinel's amazing.
Sentinel's great, but that wouldn't combo with the Tavern Brawler.
It can.
Grappler. No, because you would need a bonus action to grapple. And you can't react and have bonus action.
But it keeps everyone there for you to brawl.
It does. It does. And then you combine that with the Drunken Fist, is that it? Way of the Drunken Fighter monk,
something like that.
Which is insane, and I love him.
Yes.
And another combo that I love is this thing called Spell Sniper, which lets you double the range on magical attacks, and you can ignore cover. And if you combine that with Eldritch Blast and the Eldritch Spear invocation, you can have a range of 600 feet without penalty.
Or in 3.5, you can take only 3 feet to effectively fight with shields only.
Yes,
and that's awesome.
It is awesome. 3.5 has a lot of customization. However, if you get a character, one thing I don't like about 3.5, you can make the most brokenest of boys.
Yeah.
Simple Jeff.
I don't feel like he's that broken, though. Because he can't... He's very much just... This is what I'm good at. That's staying alive.
No one can kill him.
Bradley, you want to test me? I can kill him. Trust me. Trust me, I can kill him.
Okay.
Say the word, Brad. Say the word, Brad. And you can test me.
I feel like if you kill him this next fight, that'll be really cool. Then again, I don't want people to die more because I want to have everyone level up. Anyways, this is a tangent. 3.5, you can make such broken characters, and you can mess up making a character, which is a reason why I like 5e, it's really hard to mess up 5e, like making a character that can do things. It's a lot harder than 3.5. I'm kind of referencing my first character because I chose a lot of feats that I never used.
Yeah.
and I switched out the class. Yeah.
Skills can be messed up in 5e sometimes.
They can be.
Because you can't change skill points, but...
Yeah.
But I'll agree with you. It's easier to mess up in 3.5 theoretically, but that's the way of learning for the character, I feel like. Personally. But no, I agree. Like, as a character, it's a great thing in 3.5 to me. But as a player, it can be frustrating. And 5e might be the way to go if you're only focusing on tactical creation.
I forgot where I was at this point.
I apologize.
It's all good. I'm really tired.
So, Bradley.
Yeah. They're both good.
They're both great.
Gotta make your boys special.
I like 3.5 better. It's just astounding to me. It's not... You don't... 5e is amazing. Feat-wise. It's really good. The one thing that annoys me the most is how enthralled it has gotten my friend Bradley. Because I don't understand you as a player liking 5e system
so you want to know
3.5.
What I love about 5e system?
Yeah.
I can't have a player that's me in 5e system.
Okay.
It's 5e is simplistic. One thing about 5e that I feel like would be a good example, which 3.5 you get an effect. It works 50% of the time. 5e you get a lesser effect, but it works 100% of the time. I like consistency. I really like consistency.
I don't know if I'd agree with you on that comment, but...
Well, that's how Or was that more just Pathfinder with all the spells and chaos?
What do you mean?
The spells of, like, spell failure chance with armor and spell failure chance with...
Oh, that's in 3.5 as well a little bit.
Yeah.
But I hedge a lot of it out in our games. Yeah, there are flaws in 3.5. There are so many flaws in 3.5. There are so many flaws in 5e.
Yeah.
There are so many flaws in every single game you'll ever play. But it's just weird to me because for years and years I heard you talk about video games and how they're not interesting enough. There's not enough choices, complexity to them. And then you get into D&D and it's like, this is too much. 3.5 is too much. I like 5e's simplicity.
I got real deep into 5e.
Yeah.
What even got me into 5e?
I don't know.
What?
Just one day we were talking at lunch, and you said something about 5e being better, and I was upset.
The first book I read, I was told it was 5e. It was actually 4e. So that's the first book I read.
Yeah, unfortunate.
And
no, 4e
okay.
has good parts too.
It's good. Yeah, I'm more tactics and like focus, so I like the balance of it. But I think it's because I just had a day where I had like a 5e PDF and like. No, I actually read the complete Dungeon Master manual for 5e. That was the first time I read a complete manual for any D&D
I remember that, yeah.
thing, and everything clicked so much better in my brain.
Right.
And there were so many options. So
many paths. So going on though, we're pretty much done with talking about Feats.
We basically are.
How excited are you for this Saturday's game, Brad?
I'm really excited.
So our group right now is about to fight the final boss of this quest line. I feel like we can talk about this because there's not a lot of I don't think there's a lot of people of our friends listening tonight. So it's just you and me, Bradley. That's all right.
Us and
somebody?
Nobody?
Brandon's listening.
Somebody.
But yeah, so we have a battle against the boss of this quest line we're doing right now. His name is Rugut. He is essentially Tom Kench from League of Legends, if anyone has ever played that. but it's going to be a really interesting fight. This whole quest line has been focusing on like vices and them having to break their curses about each character's individual vice. And so this battle, I've talked about it a little bit, Bradley, but people are really worried about it, which I mean they should be, but also
it's not as bad as our last battle.
It'll be as bad as your last battle, but in a different way. Like I talked about it before, but one thing you should know is I have taken away one of his attacks per turn. He has 3 attacks per turn instead of 4 attacks per turn. Because I felt like I definitely could have given him 4, but he is more of it's supposed to be a far more mental battle than a physical battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to kind of harken back to some of the things you guys have learned throughout this quest line and make some things interesting.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, there's also a lot of hints I've given players about things that could be coming out in this. There's a message for them somewhere in one of the things they can look at. Am I the
only one that found it?
Yeah, you're the only one that found it,
which is why
I'm fine. Well, you're the only one I know that has found it.
Okay.
Also, the other thing, Bradley, is I'm taking that away tomorrow at midnight before the game starts. So they won't even be able to see it if they come into the game.
Drew, can I tell you something?
And look at all their stuff.
To make it fair, can Simple Jeff do it secretly?
I mean, you certainly can.
Because I feel like that would make it more fun, being more of a challenge, because other people aren't.
Brandon's yelling at me right now. Yeah, he'll have to find it before tomorrow at midnight.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good God, Brandon.
It's a fairly obvious thing when you think about it.
Yeah, it kind of is. You just need to see that it's literally right there.
I mean, not even the hint. Like, when you think about it, you guys should have done it as characters.
I mean,
but
Simple Jeff tried
Simple Jeff. Yeah, but you did it beforehand, before you broke the curse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're giving Brandon so many hints.
Yeah, we are. I think Brandon's probably the only one listening to this radio show at this point, so that's fine. But I also wanted to talk about it a little bit. Brandon's heard this too. I don't think I've told you. But there's also a totally different area to this map. Like, there's the map, and then there's a subsection of the map.
The tree?
No, it's a massive inside, like, cave that is Rirgut's belly.
I love it.
Yeah, there's a second battle section almost. That will be very interesting. I'm very excited.
As am I.
Brandon is asking me questions on air that I will not answer. But yeah, it's going to be a much more psychological battle than physical. Not to say that there won't be physical stuff. You guys can definitely die in this battle.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, if you go too far into the psychological stuff, it's debatable. I might even just cut you out there. But
Simple Jeff has had such a day.
Yeah, it's going to be real fun. Also, there's abilities that he have that play on each of your different things as well. Also, I still haven't completed him quite yet. I still have like 1 or 2 abilities to add in, and then all of his spells.
Sure.
But
you want to know what would be messed up?
What's that, Bradley?
If you had him like bring up Cussant, the illusion.
That would be messed up.
That would be messed up, and it would be really cool.
I didn't think about that.
You
but
didn't think True.
No, because I was finding like the specific psychological stuff before that happened. So, it's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And if Simple Jeff levels up from that, he is definitely going to get the feat of being the strong will kind of thing.
You're not leveling up, I don't think. Harlequin will. I think Harlequin is the only one that will level up from this battle, at least from my forecast of XP right now.
So basically, we need to kill Harlequin.
Secret between Brandon, and I.
That's the goal.
No, please don't.
No, it's not.
I haven't put all the layer actions in yet, and yes, there will be layer actions. I have 3 of the 6 partially planned.
Getting my belly.
I shouldn't say 3 of the 6. I have 2 of the 6 ready. No, 3 of the 6 ready, and one other one I have the name of, but I don't know what it'll do yet.
Fun.
It's called. I'll give you the name of it. It's called Alchemical Dross.
I know what that word is because we talked about it in acting.
Dross? Yeah.
It was in a monologue.
There was a character we had a while ago named Dross, as well.
Really?
Yeah. He was one of the Kenku guards of Lycro. He was the marauder one.
Who was Lycro?
The gang boss of the cut. The Kenku gang boss.
That? Yeah! Sorry, I'm trying to erase Chedberry from my memory.
Why though?
It's okay.
It's good.
It's a meme. Chedberry. But anyways, thinking about acting class, we have to read a play by tomorrow, Drew.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you what we had to do for tomorrow.
We have to read a play, so I think it might be good.
I guess I'll ask you on air.
Start heading out.
Hey, we need to read a play.
We have to read a play.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's about the hour mark, so
yeah,
Bradley,
so
you want to shoot us off?
Yeah. So this has been WCCX Waukesha 104.5 FM, and this has been
B&D with B&D, saying a lot to somebody.
Have a good night, and welcome back to your regularly scheduled random music.